Welcome back, and welcome to Focus on Health Law. This will be presented here by Attorney Kenneth Haber, who is a practicing attorney in Boyds, Maryland. The moderator on this set is Attorney Ramesh Khurana from the Khurana Law Firm of Gaithersburg, Maryland. This week, Attorney Khurana has a whole bunch of questions for Attorney Haber on the ADA in healthcare. Let's take a look.
My name is Ramesh Khurana. I am an attorney at law and I have my office in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And today I am going to present to you a very seasoned, knowledgeable and experienced lawyer who also practices primarily in Maryland, but with the help of other lawyers, he basically functions in all the jurisdictions in the United States because he deals with the topic of health care, a topic which is very close to the physicians and other healthcare providers. And today, Ken, first of all, let me welcome you to our studio.
Thank you very much, Ramesh.
And Ken is the former Assistant U.S. Attorney and the former Senior Attorney in the Office of Inspector General. He has got a very vast and rich experience, which he uses in his private practice. So, Ken, you are welcome. I'm going to ask you a question about the ADA in healthcare.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
ADA, right?
ADA.
It's a difficult topic a little bit, right?
It's a complex topic, but it's one that I really have a soft spot in my heart for because of the fact that I have a child who has a disability, and it's a lifesaver for so many people who do have disabilities. And unfortunately, even today, in the mid 2016, so the second decade, second decade of this century, people still don't know what it means and what they have to do to comply with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they still don't know.
Despite the best education facilities in this country, like, we have the internet, we have different websites, and still people are ignorant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People don't know what their rights are often, and people who are in the different entities, agencies, or whatever that are supposed to accommodate don't know that they are. They don't know they have an obligation often.
Okay, Ken, just explain to us how does the ADA relate to healthcare? What is the significance?
It's across the boards. It's across the board. You have patients, you have healthcare providers, and you have the institutions, and you have the governments, the government agencies, and it affects each of them. The patients have rights under the ADA. The patients, you may recall at one point in time, doctors would not treat people with AIDS because there was so much fear and unknown about AIDS, and doctors wouldn't treat them.
They thought it was a contagious disease, right?
Yeah, you breathe on me, I'm going to catch it or something, and the government said that, you've got to accommodate these people. You cannot not treat them just because they have AIDS. So people take accommodations, so that they wear gloves if they're dentists, but people can get dental services now. They can get other healthcare services, which they might not have been able to have been provided earlier if there wasn't an effort by the government to educate people as far as the rights under the ADA. So the patients have rights under the ADA. You see nowadays when new streets go up that they have cuts in the curbs where wheelchairs can get onto the street and cross over and then come back up.
Oh, that's the purpose of those
that's
cars.
part of the ADA.
I never understood that.
Yeah, that's part for the ADA.
So ADA is playing crucial role in our daily life, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, in all the areas of our lives. The ADA will affect not only local governments in that way, but it'll affect state governments. Licensing boards have to accommodate people who have
even restaurants.
Restaurants
right?
have to do it. Public accommodations, hospitals. hospitals. There was a famous case where a doctor wanted, because of his back problem or whatever, wanted to be able, and he was OBGYN, he wanted to be able to deliver babies sitting in a chair that had the coasters on the bottom, so he could wheel around. It wasn't a wheelchair, but the coaster chair, because lots of times you have to stand long periods of time. And the hospital didn't want him to do it. They want him to have to be able to stand up. And that went to court, and the court said, no, that's a reasonable accommodation for this man's back problem. So it affects that. It affects people who might be regarded as disabled. So if a person had a drinking problem and he doesn't have a drinking problem anymore, the different entities that are affected, private entities, what are called public accommodations, government entities, state and local entities. The federal government ADA doesn't apply to, doesn't actually apply to, but what they've done is they've created within their own regulatory system similar protections for people. But Congress was regulating everyone else but Congress and the federal government there. And now the state agencies can't regard somebody, and public accommodations can't regard somebody as disabled when he's not, because of the fact that that's considered a disability and they're subject to being regarded, being documented as disabled is considered a violation of the ADA.
Wonderful.
That they're treating him as disabled when he's not.
Okay.
So one time I had a situation where a person had a problem that was dealt with through therapy and did not have the problem anymore. And this individual wanted to get licensed, and we wrote up a memorandum. And
License for what?
as a healthcare professional.
Oh, okay.
And wrote up a memorandum. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned
Yeah,
that.
no,
but,
that's fine.
Sent it out to 3 different licensing authorities, and one of them granted this individual a license without us having to sue or anything else.
Great achievement.
You know, we did a memorandum when a person wanted to participate with Blue Cross of a particular state, because that Blue Cross also handled Medicare, and he would then be able to handle Medicare. Now, this person had been alcoholic or using drugs or whatever, and was on probation to another state licensing authority where the person was being monitored and had a clean record and posed no threat to anybody. We wrote a letter to that Blue Cross of that particular other state explaining to them about the ADA, and the person wasn't a threat. They can't regard him as a threat. And they gave him participation into the Blue Cross, which gave him participation in Medicare through the ADA.
Okay.
So it can be used in countless different ways to help people who just need a reasonable accommodation, who need not to be regarded as disabled when they're not, and if they are disabled, then just to have a reasonable accommodation, and to clean up people's records even, so that they're not in any way discriminated against in public accommodations, in state local agencies, or by private employers.
Okay. So you have already explained, Ken, how the ADA relates to patients. You have also explained how ADA relates to healthcare professionals. You have given us a few examples whereby you have used ADA for your clients. Can you give us some more examples of using ADA for your clients, so that audience listening here to your conversation can know their rights better?
Yes.
Just give us 1 or 2 more examples.
1 or 2 more examples.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let my brain chill out here for a second.
Like you said, you used for the purpose of licensing, for the purpose of Blue Cross, just like that.
Yeah, Blue Cross, of course, was acting as a payor for itself, its insurance policies, and also for the government itself under Medicare. But you can use the ADA in terms of driver's licenses. You know, people who have a disability that can be accommodated reasonably, where they're not a threat or hazard to the public, they should be able to get their driver's license. Anything that you can think of in terms of the state having authority over people, they have to honor the ADA. Going to school, bars, and I'm not talking about the drinking bars, I'm talking about the bars, attorney bars.
Not attorney bars.
They have to have reasonable accommodations that people can take the test properly, so that if they need to be able to process things in different ways, that they accommodate them. You've probably heard of those type of cases. The medical examinations, the same sort of situations. If people are going to residency, they need to be able to be provided reasonable accommodations. They have to do the central functions. They can't go in and be neurosurgeons if they can't see, obviously. But if they can do the critical job functions, then they need to be provided reasonable accommodation, just like the OBGYN who was on the little seat that had rollers on it that he can wheel around. He was given a reasonable accommodation. He could still do the job. He could get up in an emergency and do whatever needed to be done. He just didn't have the ability to stand for long hours on his feet.
Okay. So we still have 3.5 minutes more to go for this segment. Now let me ask you a question, because my understanding is that ADA was amended recently by Congress.
Yes.
So can you please tell us what were the important amendments which were made to the ADA?
Yes, I can. It was amended in 2008, where it became effective in 2009, January 1st, 2009.
So many years back.
Yes, and believe it or not, DOJ, Department of Justice, has issued its regulations finally.
When?
Its final regulations that go into effect October 11th.
Oh.
That went into effect October 11th.
October 11, 2016?
2016.
After 8 years?
Yes, the final regulations went in. They had guidances, but these were the final regulations that just went into effect. And what the Congress did was that there was a continuing eating away at the ADA by the courts, believe it or not. The courts were making it more and more restrictive, harder and harder to get your resolutions through the ADA. And what Congress did is they passed these amendments that made it quite clear that they're talking about broad application of the ADA and not limited application, broad application of the ADA to who it applies to and under what conditions it applies. It's like saying, hey, didn't you hear us the first time? And this time the courts are hearing it. What they did do is they put some limitations in terms of damages, under certain circumstances. So the bigger the company is that has violated the ADA, the more money you can get from it. So the smaller companies are not necessarily going to be subject to the same penalties.
They always look to the deep pockets anyways, right?
Well, that's true, but they didn't want to break the bank of the little companies, and they wanted to expand they wanted to make sure that the courts knew that it was their intent to expand the ADA.
So that was just to show the Congress intent. Like
it was to show congressional intent. They put their stamp of approval saying, you didn't hear us the first time, we're rewriting it and we're making it abundantly clear. We're talking that this is supposed to be expansive remedial legislation that covers the people of the United States of America, and not only U.S. citizens, but anyone who's residing here, obviously,
Great. I think, Ken, you have made the concept of ADA application and how it relates to different segments of the community and patients, healthcare providers, and against whom these are used. I really appreciate that. We are running out of time, though I have many more questions in regard to ADA. Maybe I will use some other segment to ask you these questions.
I'll be ready.
I must
I'll be
thank
ready.
you for
Thank
coming
you.
to our
I
studio.
thank you.
Thank you.